So, this week we're going to be doing Deadmines. Now, we're going to be doing it on Tirion. But before we get into the video, most of you will know that I generally like to do a no-talent run and a talent run. I'm not going to be doing any no-talent runs for Alliance this week. The reason being is it's Deadmines, and look at these levels. I am going to be struggling, if not find it impossible, to push Deadmines with 0 talents, given the Alliance leaders' levels that I'm at. And actually, most of my leaders now will be out of the range for most of the dungeons where no talents are going to be applicable. So if you want to go and look how I've tackled Deadmines with different leaders, you can pretty much use the same deck ideas, but with different leaders, you can go back and check earlier in my channel. There are Deadmines runs that I've done in the past with no talents, and they're very viable. And I will talk about some of the situations where you can run things with no talents, and I'll talk about that in the deck building as well. Now, we're going to be doing Tirion this week. We're going to be doing level 27, which is about 2.3 levels above my current deck level. I had someone in the comments of one of my Beast Week runs say, you always say the wrong level is above, and whenever I'm talking about the amount of levels above on my deck versus the dungeon, I'm looking at the average level of my deck. And if it's like 24.3, I'm going to say it's 3 levels above, because it's closer to being 3 levels above than it is to being 2 levels above. Even if my tower might be the higher level. But anyway, look, enough of that. Let's talk about the deck. So, Tirion. We're going to run Divine Shield on Tirion. It's just the ultimate tank rune for him. It makes him very difficult to kill, can buy you precious time on towers, on loads of different stuff. So Divine... I've done this on the wrong page. 1 second. So we're going to be running Divine Shield talent on Tirion. Coming in hot for Safe Pilot, because, I mean, you can run stealth. You can run the stealth one, but coming in hot is just as good, and also allows you to be far more reactive, I think. We're going to run the Poison on the Defias Bandits. Now, the reason I'm running Poison is because we're also running Poison on Harpy, and if you've got 2 Poison units, there is a good chance that you can get offered Basilisk Fang, which is a very, very strong relic, and we'll take it. The alternative is to take Pick Lock, because there is 2 immediate chests on Cookie that can basically, it makes Cookie very easy to do, because you should be able to get a massive gold advantage at the start and essentially take over. But that's the only level with chests on it, so you would be picking that talent primarily for Cookie. We're going to run Earth Elemental. Now, why am I running Earth Elemental and not running Quillbore? It's better on Mr. Smite and it's better on Sneed. That's the reason, and Cookie doesn't do that much damage, so you shouldn't have a problem with Cookie, because basically Living Bomb does the heavy lifting on Cookie. So that's the reason we're running Earth Elemental. It's less useful than Quillbore, especially when you're using it to kind of like tank mobs, but it is better on boss tanking. That's why I'm taking it. We're taking Flame Burst and Will Pegs. There really isn't another talent for that. We're going to take, I don't even know what this talent's called. Let's have a look. We're going to take Blast Radius. I don't really know what the good talent... Why is this... Has anyone noticed that my entire screen just moved down slightly? That was weird. There we go. We're going to take Blast Radius here, and obviously, like I said, we're taking Infected Swipes on Harpies. This is the deck, and primarily you're going to use these 2 in combination on the boss. You might use these and these, especially on Sneed. Defensive unit, reactive unit, and primarily used for Cookie, because it's a bit of a cheat card for the Cookie fight. Let's get into it. I'm going to have my little magic pen to talk through the tactics, and we'll get going. So, I was going to do a level 28 dungeon, but I didn't. The reason being is I didn't actually get any good talents, so I actually did complete this level 27 one relatively easily, and the first relic selection is really interesting, of course. In any world where you're playing on your own, I would recommend Stormwind Commendation. There is only one downside to Stormwind Commendation on Deadmines, is that you might accidentally copy a Footman, but you run Well Pegs, you run Safe Pilot, you run Harpies with Poison. There's lots of ways to deal with Footman, even if they do get duplicated, and there could be worse things to duplicate. I'm going to take Howling Warband, however, because I think it's more of a generic talent, or relic rather, and I think it's realistically going to be something that isn't going to make this run too easy. I don't want this run to be too easy, because there's no point showing off Stormwind Commendation. It just kind of makes the run very, very simple. So we're going to jump in. I'm going to kind of go all the way to Mr. Smite. Kind of annoyed. I had a Mr. Smite run I've done this dungeon twice. I failed at Sneed the first time round I was recording, and I won the next time round. Had a really insanely good Mr. Smite, but I got a little bit lucky with the spawns. So this one's going to be maybe a bit more... It'll look like I'm struggling a bit more, but it's a bit more generic with the spawns. Now, in terms of tactics, we obviously have this lane, and we have what is essentially these two lanes, okay? So, in general, we don't actually ever care about this lane. Unless you're really struggling, you need to take this meeting stone to get the gold mine that just exists on this corner. We don't really care about this lane, so I usually send this switch going this way, so that any minis that I do defend with this way automatically go down this way. That includes well pegs that might get caught over here, etc. So we're going to ignore, let's just say for the most part, we ignore this lane. What we want to do is capture the meeting point over here and try and control it, and try and have control of this area here too. The reason being is that we want to use these gold mines to our advantage when we get the chance. What you're going to do is you need to have a very specific setup for this. You want your harpies to be traveling down this lane. Ideally, you'd love them to travel with some well pegs, and I'll talk about that in a moment. You then want to use the safe pilot on this stealth. So there's a little bit of there's a stealth pack of a troll, dark spear troll, and 2 Defias bandits. You want to use your safe pilot on those to clear them as the harpies are approaching, and then you want to drop the earth elemental behind Mr. Smite when the harpies are approaching. It's very simple. It's a simple unbound tactic, but that's basically the way that you play this. There is a couple of extra little things that I'll talk about as we go. The area here is where you want to place well pegs. So well pegs are used to defend by themselves versus the Stonehoof Tauren that comes stealthed down this particular this pipe. You can't actually attack them otherwise, so you're going to use your well pegs here to just essentially stop them from attacking the base. As we get further into this match, I'll show you exactly what I mean. So, we're going to drop a Tirion. The reason we're dropping a Tirion is to defend from the Prowler charge. Prowler does an unnecessary amount of damage to the base, and it's really annoying. We're going to use a safe pilot to clear out this pack of annoying spiders and Murloc Tidehunters. We're going to set up the well pegs very early on. And here is kind of one of those situations where I was thinking, oh, okay, this is going to be a tougher run to make happen. You're going to see me in a minute switch. I want my Tirion to not walk to his death over to the left. And we're going to drop, as soon as he starts healing the bear, which is now, we're going to drop these harpies on and just deal with this very, very annoying unit. Now, unfortunately, the Dark Spear Troll is going to clear off the rest of my harpies, but my Tirion is doing a good job of defending and just making sure that my base isn't getting taken down. Now, we're not going to have a good setup here. We don't really have a lot of units in play. We don't have any of the key meeting stones and capture points that we need. But what we are going to do is just try and get a value trade on this Mountaineer. If you can take out the Rifleman part of that Mountaineer using using your safe pilot, then you're in a pretty good spot. Setting up another set of well pegs for the Stonehoof Tauren coming down over here. You'll see it just charge in and kill those well pegs in a minute. And then again, just looking to set up and take this meeting stone. Now you can see it is getting difficult. We are getting a lot of stuff spawned at us, but we're just about getting the upper hand with our Tyrions. And this is why I like Divine Shield. It just makes Tirion very sticky and very difficult to deal with. As you can see, we do beat out the Murloc Tidehunters with our safe pilot, which is quite nice. And because we don't have another safe pilot in play here, what we're actually going to do is spawn well pegs on top of these guys, just to make sure that the Dark Spear Troll goes down, because we need that Dark Spear Troll to be dead. I just absolutely screwed up the spawning of my so yeah, right here is what we're going to do, right? So I obviously ignore my really bad spawning in my kobold. I did not mean to do it. I obviously wanted to send it to go and get these gold mines. What we've now got is an earth elemental tanking a little bit. We've got a huge influx of damage coming in from this meeting stone, and we ideally just want to keep that going as long as possible. We're probably not going to get the kill on this push. The reason being is that this earth elemental is already split into its obsidian shards, so we're probably going to have to go for another one, but we're going to get a lot of damage down, which is the most important thing here. And you can see those obsidian shards actually get down before my harpies even get to the boss, but we dealt a load of damage, and that's perfectly fine. And what's very interesting is that my safe pilot, it gets knocked out of range and just continues to be a nuisance to the boss. You're going to see that happen. Yeah, it happens quite frequently whenever you play safe pilot in these scenarios. Now, as you can see, my Tirion died here, but we want to try and keep hold of this meeting stone. We unfortunately did not manage to keep hold of the meeting stone, but that's perfectly okay. We're going to launch another set of harpies, and hopefully what we're going to do here is we're going to spawn a safe pilot on top of these guys to make sure that the troll headhunter doesn't kill off all of my minis. We have now got a big push coming in with well pegs and with harpies, and we're just going to drop the earth elemental behind. And then we have a big pack of minis coming over here, but we don't really care because they shouldn't actually kill the base before we kill the boss. So as you can see here, even with the troll headhunter, we've got enough with Howling Warband and Poison Application to take down Mr. Smite. So pretty simple. Hopefully you guys understood how that went down. We're going to jump onto Cookie, which is a little bit more straightforward. So in terms of relics, Strange Dust, in the parchment that gives you a shield, and then Leeching Poison, I think that is. So Leeching Poison is not that good because really it's only for Tirion. There isn't really much else in our deck that could really benefit from Leeching Poison. This is terrible. It's so situational. Strange Dust is really good in my opinion. It has very, very, very high upsides and very minor downsides, right? The downsides are that you get an Angry Chicken, you get a Vulture, you get something bad, and another Defias Bandit maybe. The upsides are you get Core Hound, you get Mountaineer Bear or Mountaineer Rifleman, you get Warsong Grunts, you get Footman. There is a massive upside to Strange Dust, and we are running 3 squad minis, so we take Strange Dust every day of the week. And we're going to jump into the next boss now, so let's go and look at Cookie and the tactics. Okay, Cookie, so difficult to explain because the screen's not showing you everything that it needs to show you, but you want to take these chests as a priority, so you need to drop a ground mini. In this case, it would be Defias Bandits or Tirion. Worst case scenario, you safe pilot them. The reason being is that this gives you a massive gold injection. What you want to do is drop, ideally something relatively cheap. That's why I like Defias Bandits in this scenario. You want to drop Harpies and then Earth Elemental to take this tower. So you kind of want to take this tower before you even use Living Bomb on this side tower over here. So that's ideally what you want to do. This tower is the best tower that you can take. It gives you access to a gold mine. It protects minis coming. It protects you from minis coming in this area over here, and it allows you to essentially launch assaults with a switch that's just above this from either the left or the right side like this. So Cookie's here. You can either go from this side to this side, and that's actually very important as this fight goes on. I'm going to talk about some more tactics once we get there. We're going to show you the Living Bomb trick. That's the most important part of this boss fight. But let's just walk through the first part. We also send a kobold. You might have just seen me send a kobold over towards this gold mine. You definitely want to do that as much as possible. So there we go. I've done the Harpies. I've done the Earth Elemental. We've got quite a few extra minis out of Strange Dust. Right, here we go. Stop. Right. Okay. This is the pack of minis that spawn above near Cookie, and they slowly walk towards your base. This is the whole reason that we run Living Bomb. You basically never use Living Bomb in any of the other fights except for this, but it is so useful on this fight that you have to run it. Living Bomb as they are just approaching the tower. Why? Because the Living Bomb damage will also deal damage to the tower. Now, it might not kill it, but it will deal quite a lot of damage to it, which hopefully sets you up to take the tower later on. It will not kill the Gnoll Brutes and the Stonehoof Tauren, but we don't care about that because we can use well pegs afterwards. The reason being is that obviously we want the Mountaineers and the Troll Headhunters to die because they are high DPS and they also deal with our flying units. So we have plenty of things to deal with the tanks after this. So we're going to drop the Living Bomb there. You'll notice that I actually didn't even need to use Safe Pilot in that scenario. It was kind of stupid, but Safe Pilot does end up shooting over the wall to help out. And yeah, they basically go down relatively quickly. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to drop another set of Harpies, and we're going to go and take down this this tower over here. Unfortunately, Huntress spawns, which is super annoying. Huntress is pretty much good versus, yeah, all of our squad minis. And it does mean that we're going to have to spawn something else to deal with Huntress because we don't actually get enough damage down. The best thing that you can do in this scenario is just drop... like I said, drop. I could have dropped those, what are they called? I could have dropped those well pegs earlier. And we've got the massive upside of Strange Dust. We just spawned a Core Hound, which is great. Now, Core Hound by itself is kind of meh, not great. Obviously, the whole gimmick of Core Hound is that you have 2 and they revive each other. But it's still a big, beefy minion, and it's got elemental resist, so that's good versus Cookie as well. Right. Second part of the tactics. Now, this is funny. Usually this pack would be a bit bigger, but my Safe Pilot dealt a bit of damage to it. Interestingly enough, you don't actually need to Living Bomb this pack. You can actually just use Safe Pilot or well pegs around the tower again if you really want to, but make sure it's around the tower. You want to maximize and be efficient with your damage. Then afterwards, you just need to spawn something to deal with the prowlers. You could living bomb, you don't need to. It's more effective to use living bomb in this scenario later on, and also 6 gold's a big investment. So I'm just going to use the 3 gold investment to take them down underneath the tower, as you'll see. We're not that bothered about... He actually spawned more under the tower alongside this pack, which is great. But these guys, I can just spawn a Tirion and they'll just get dealt with. Like if I spawn a Tirion in front of the base, they're not going to deal any damage to the base here. Got another upside. I spawned a Mountaineer, what they called Mountaineer Bear, with my Defiance Bandage, which is absolutely insane. And we're going to drop a set of Harpies to go and try and put pressure onto Cookies. That's what we're going to do now. A little bit extra. The reason I'm sending my Harpies this way and not this way is because the next big pack of Troll Headhunters is going to spawn here. So I want my Harpies and my DPS to go the other way around so they don't immediately get killed by a giant pack of mobs that are about to spawn. And let's say that you attack just after... Let's say you're looking for an attack just after this spawns come in. You want to send your Harpies around this way so they don't immediately get killed by a load of Murloc Tidehunters. So just something to be aware of. Okay, Huntress just absolutely ruined my life. So here's the next part of the tactic. Once we have taken these towers, what you want to do is use Living Bomb when they are right next to Cookie, because not only will it deal with them before they get to your tower, it will deal damage directly to Cookie, and that's great. So yeah, this is just the next best place to use Living Bomb. You'll notice it here. Boom, they dealt a huge chunk of damage to Cookie. They're basically all dead as well. They're not going to make it past my... They're not going to make it past my well pegs, so I have no problem defending that tower. Going to go for this mine over here. And now, when we're looking to attack, because obviously we have this next rotation in play of the Harpies plus the Earth Elemental. Now that we've got this next rotation in play, I spawn Harpies over here. So we're actually going to go... Interestingly, if I could have done something different here, I actually could have gone and tried to get damage onto the boss. But we have another... Huntress spawn. You'll notice that whichever lane you spawn Huntress in, you generally tend to get them spawn. Whichever lane you spawn Harpies in, you generally tend to see them spawn a Huntress in. And this is one of the problems as well. We're about to see our Harpies walk into that massive pack, so they're not actually going to get a lot of damage done here. But we'll use Living Bomb again to deal a bit of chunk of damage to Cookie and also deal with the majority of the minis there. And we have cycled back now also to our Harpies. Luckily, they actually get stuck on that wolf for a little bit, but you'll see now I'll just use the Earth Elemental to tank away from the Harpies. They actually have Bloodlust already because one of their minis near to them actually got killed, and that's enough damage to actually deal with and kill Cookie. So you saw that I was never really in any danger on this, and it's relatively simple once you know what to do with the Living Bomb. Okay, let's jump over to the relic choice. Yeah, so Chromatic Shroud. So yeah, I've got Poison on range minis, which only applies to my Safe Pilot, so it's kind of pointless. This makes Living Bomb cost 1 less. Great, but still never going to play it. So we just go for Chromatic Shroud. It's actually quite useful for... You basically get Gnomish Cloaking Device and coming in hot on your Safe Pilot, which is great. And also makes Well Pegs a bit more useful because they are shrouded and they will at least get 1 hit in versus ranged minis like Ogre Magi, for instance. So let's jump into the final boss. Okay, tactics. Right. This is... a pain, and I'm just going to quickly double check something before I start talking about this. 1 second. Sorry, I just wanted to double check the actual timing on the duplicator. So the duplicator officially turns on at 3:28 and it immediately spawns those goblin sappers. That's not a big deal. They're quite easy to deal with, so we don't worry too much about that. What then happens is that every 20 seconds since it was last procced, it will then turn back on again. That's what you have to have in your head. The last time something spawned from the duplicator, you've got 20 seconds until it starts to spawn stuff once again. That's difficult to keep track of whilst you're actually doing this fight, but just to keep that in your head, that's kind of what happens. So the duplicator will spawn 5 copies of whatever walks into it. You want that to be kobold or low value minis, like random squad minis, which is actually kind of where Strange Dust can be useful. Like if you spawn like a random chicken or a random vulture or something and it gets duplicated, that's great. Tactics. You essentially need this chest. You can also put well pegs a little bit above. There's a chest just on the next level here. I like to drop well pegs with Strange Dust sometimes, but I like to drop well pegs. Not only does well pegs distract with Strange Dust and actually potentially take the chest versus that miner, but it also means that the Molten Giant, when it spawns, will get distracted for long enough for you to usually react and get something else in the duplicator. But look, primarily what you want to do is take this chest. That involves dropping whatever you've got, Tirion, Defias Bandits, whatever. You then need to get this tower. This can be very difficult depending on what they spawn. Another little note, as soon as you have a kobold, drop it on this mine, because that kobold will then walk up in time and get duplicated, hopefully. So as soon as you have a kobold, drop it on the mine. This tower is really important. You kind of want to take it with whatever force you need. What I like to do is drop harpies here and then drop earth elemental somewhere nearby, just to kind of draw any aggro of like ogre magis, etc. that spawn. If an ogre magi spawns, drop a safe pilots on its head. But basically, it's a bit of experimentation. You just kind of need to react to what you see on the fly. The spawns that come in from this direction are practically different every time you run this, so you just need to kind of react and try and take this tower to the best of your ability. Those minis will then walk through, hopefully deal with a load of kobolds, and then you want to try and take this tower by spawning harpies here and another earth elemental behind. Once you've got these two towers, you're really well set up, because you have access to both gold mines, and this tower up here, this one that's up in this corner, allows you to spawn stuff much closer to the duplicator, so you can be a bit more reactive to the duplicator. I'll talk about how we deal with Sneed a little bit later on, but there are a couple of tactics that you can use, and I think I show you both of them in this game as well. So, here we go. So I don't have anything great to take this chest, so I just immediately drop my safe pilot. Now, as you can see, again, like I said, I turned that what's it called, Stonehoof Tauren around just to try and get it onto the tower. We're then going to drop the well pegs above. And then immediately we get safe piloted, which is quite good actually, because it means that the everything kind of gets blown up there. We do manage to take this tower. It was a bit of a cluster, but we did actually manage to take that tower, which was really important. And then we do indeed spawn another Cobalt Miner. We're going to drop some Defias Bandits here. The reason we're dropping Defias Bandits here is because we want to basically... I knew that I had to distract this this guy, this Molten Giant. We had to distract this Molten Giant, and we're actually going to drop the well pegs behind as well. Now, because essentially... we would have lost here. And this is something that's actually really important to know. I'm going to go back just a little moment ago, right? If this happens and this gets copied, I was so close to disaster here. It's basically game over. It's very difficult to recover from the Molten Giant. So if there's one thing that you need to do in this game, it's to stop Molten Giant. Another thing that I could have done that would have been much more safe, and what I recommend that you do, is you actually spawn the well pegs kind of on the edge of the... duplicator, so the Molten Giant will attack them, and once a whelp spawns out of them, it will get duplicated rather than the Molten Giant itself. That would have been safer, and that's what I'd recommend you do. Luckily, the harpies that I sent to deal with that tower got me out of jail, and it only spawned harpies. Not great, but not the worst thing either. So we now have well pegs and harpies dealing with that Molten Giant. They'll take it down low enough so that it's not going to be a threat. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to start to threaten Sneed. Now, there are two ways that we're going to threaten Sneed, okay? So you can see here, two ways that we're going to threaten Sneed. Obviously, with Harpies, you really want to do the Unbound Elemental trick. So what I'm going to do here is send everything this way, and you'll just see me drop an Unbound Elemental, Earth Elemental behind him in just a moment. You'll see it here. There we go. Usually, what ends up happening in this scenario is like they spawn an Ogre Mage, or like this, they spawn a Troll Headhunter. Luckily, we actually managed to deal with it quite relatively easily, but we got a load of damage down, which is really important. Oh, I actually killed him on one push. Great. So that shows you how you can kill him in one push. I want to show you another tactic that is used quite frequently. I don't actually get to show you. I think I might have done it in one of the losses. So I'm going to quickly show you. I lost just before winning this one, but right, this is one that I lost. So what we're going to do is another way to deal with Sneed. It's a bit of a cheesy tactic. Is drop well pegs here, like I am, and immediately after Sneed swipes them with his big old saw, drop an Unbound Earth Elemental behind him. Okay, so we'll just play it out. I'll show you what happens. So, oh, actually, he dropped a Warsong Grunt. Now, usually, I'm going to see if I can find a better example. There's got to be a better example that I've got here that doesn't immediately get Warsong Grunted. Right, here we go. Right, yes. Well pegs, like this. They get spawned just in a minute. They get spawned, and then Earthbound Elemental before. Now, unfortunately, he dropped an Ogre Magi right on my head. That does often happen, but if it doesn't, it basically allows you to get free damage from the whelps onto Sneed over and over again. I just wanted to show you that was actually from a loss. We're just going to go back to the victory screen now from my actual win. And there we go, victory. We end up taking this down. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys, and I hope you guys were able to learn a little bit